I'd like to call the Wednesday, July 12th, 2023 Board of Education reorganizational meeting to order. Please take a moment to silence your electronic devices and join me by standing and reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The order of this meeting is quite we'll begin by Sue administering the oath of office to me as superintendent. I will in turn administer the oath of office to Sue as the board clerk. And then I will administer the oath of office to the new board members. And after we commit to the oath, the documents that we sign are over there on the gray table on the other side of the podium.
There first. You ready? Gotta raise your right hand. Okay, I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the Office of Superintendent of Schools
the duties of the Office of Superintendent of Schools
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
You guys are gonna be up.
Thank you. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the Office of District Clerk
the duties of the Office of District Clerk
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
Thank you. Mike and Jackie, you want to come up?
I don't have to do it. Oh, they're calling me up there?
Yes, no. It did say new board members.
Call me, I won't go.
I don't see a reason why we can't take the oath together. So here's a copy. Now I don't have one. I'm good. So please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the Office of School Board Member
the duties of the office of school board member
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. You can sign on the table over here. Here you go, Mike. The top line. The top line is yours. This one. So we'll do it later. Thank you. You can just set it right there when you're done with it. Thank you.
Brian, you'll have to sign all of them as you've given the oath.
Okay. After, right? Got it.
Is that we can hand a diploma to whoever walks across the street.
I did like 7. I was overwhelmed. There would have been more, but I was like, all right, well.
Thank you, everybody. I'm going to read some general guidelines from Robert's Rules about election procedure. It's a little different than some of the parameters around election procedure are a little bit different than the regular operations of our meetings, so it's worth having a reminder. Important things to note during a nomination process. A member can call out the name of a nominee. A person can nominate themselves. Nomination does not require a second. A member can be nominated for more than one office. A member can't nominate more than one person for an office until everyone has had the opportunity to make nominations. Nominees do not have to leave the room during the nominations, when the vote is taken, or when the vote is counted. A member can decline the nomination during the nomination process, and after each nomination, I will repeat the name of the nominee and the position for which they have been nominated. And each time after we do a nomination, when there appears to be no further nominations presented by the group, I'll ask for a motion to close the nominations for that particular office, and nominations must be closed by a 2/3 majority vote. Any questions so far? Okay. If more than one person has been nominated for any position, I will call out the candidates in the order in which they were nominated. Each board member will only get one aye vote during the voting process. The first candidate to receive a majority of aye votes will win. Therefore, if the first candidate receives a majority vote, there will be no further voting for the second or third candidates. Okay. I would like to call for nominations from the floor for the position of board president.
I nominate Mike Dio.
Who did you say?
Mike Dio.
Okay. All right, that is a motion for Mike Dio for president. Are there further nominations for president?
I'm going to nominate Teddy Reveley.
Teddy Reveley has been nominated for president. Are there any further nominations for president? Do I have a motion to close the nominations for the position of board president?
So moved.
I motion.
Denny, do I have a second? Bray? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay. All those in favor of Mike Dio for president, say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
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 There we go.
That is 6. That is the majority. So there's no need to go to the second candidate. The ayes have it, and Mike Dio is elected board president. I'd like to call for nominations from the floor for the position of board vice president.
I nominate Ed Bedinati. Sure.
Ed Bedinati has been nominated for the position of board vice president. Are there further nominations for the position of board vice president?
I'll nominate Kristen Burns.
Kristen Hill Burns has been nominated for the position of board vice president. Are there any further nominations for the position of board vice president?
Move we close the nominations.
I second.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Pete? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, nominations are closed. All those in favor of Ed Bedinati for vice president, say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
The vote is 5. That is a majority of the board. Therefore, there's no need to go on to the second proposal. The ayes have it, and Ed Bedinati is elected board vice president. Would you two please join me over at the podium so I can administer the oath? I'll do them separately, okay? You can join me. Thank you. Just Mike this time. I do solemnly swear, thank you, Mike,
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of School Board President
the duties of the office of School Board President
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Huh?
Here, Mike.
No, not really, not mine. Oh, yeah.
The teacher contract hasn't been officially negotiated.
And repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge
Congrats, buddy.
the duties of the office of School Board President.
Congrats.
Sorry, School Board Vice President. You had your chance. According to the best of my ability. That's why we use a piece of paper. Thank you. Mike, you're actually in charge now.
Good luck with that one.
What a welcome.
So, from this point on, the board needs to make a motion to appoint officers, action items 1 through 5 from the reorg meeting. That's correct, right, Sue?
The very, right, so however it is on the board docs there, it's 1 through,
And
One-
they read
one through
as
six.
1 through
reappoint,
6.
sorry, one through, say it again?
1 through 6.
Okay,
is the officers.
Right.
gotcha.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve items 1 through 6?
I'll make the motion.
I second.
Mr. Engel?
It's
Second,
actually
Mr. Merlino?
4.1.
4.1.
Broken down in 1 through 6.
4.1, items 1 through 6. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Make the motion for 5.1.
We have a motion for 5.1. All items, number 1 through 59.
Yeah, let's do them all.
Second,
I second.
Ms. Molina. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'll make the motion for 6.1. That's just 1 and 2, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Ross? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Let's go.
Aye. All right.
Out of here.
All right, have a good night.
If only.
Little premature.
Gosh, now how do we get into the,
Go to,
oh, there we go.
Gotta go to the other meeting.
although you don't have,
Just click meeting on the top.
well, yours
It's
looks
gonna be the other one below it, anyways.
What?
And board docs.
Find it?
We don't have to do a pledge again, do we?
No,
All right.
we don't
We have to do
do the pledge.
No, did it right.
We're good to go. We're recording?
Yep.
Okay. It's 6:17 on July 12th, 2023, and I'll call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Education. I propose that we go into executive session at the end of the meeting, unless someone would like to move now,
for what reason?
if anybody has a reason to
No,
make a
what
motion now.
reason are we going into exact?
We'll make the motion later, but
Okay.
no motions right now? Okay. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? No? Okay. Is there a motion to accept the minutes of the June 14th, 2023 Board of Education meeting?
So moved.
Mr. Engel, second. Mr. Ross, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I see no awards, honors, recognitions, or special presentations, or hearings or petitions. So we'll move into business considerations. Is there a motion to approve one or all of the business considerations?
Make a motion for all 6-1 through 6-24.
Second.
Aye.
Ms. Molina? Okay. Prior to opening the floor for any discussion, I'd just like to note item 613, a donation from iSmile Studios in the amount of $900. Thank you for that. Is there any discussion on any of the business considerations?
6.14, I didn't get to give the president his little folder here. That has to be roll called.
Okay.
So we ought to leave that one out, I guess.
To leave that one out. Okay. I have a question on 611 and 612. It struck me, we're approving at 611, the school tax collector at a rate of 35 an hour, but the deputy tax collector at 45 an hour.
So the tax collector is basically going to be the one answering the phone, and the deputy is more the one, entering it and figure out more of the, the financial background of it. The deputy has a lot more experience. Yep, no, it's a great question.
Answer my question. And then on 6.15, the budgetary transfer, the amount of $204,510. Reading through it, it says for BOCES equipment. What equipment is that?
So we decided to do our IT equipment purchase through BOCES. It adds 4% onto it, but next year we get 61% on that. So we will get a savings of, I think it was 200, let's see, I got the number right here in front of me.
And 5,000.
So those are for new Chromebooks and things like that?
Yeah, I actually have exactly what we got here as well. So we got, let's see, 450 Chromebooks. We got some microprocessors which go on the back of these larger displays. We got 30 of those. We got 95 monitors.
Yeah, these are.
We got some cables for the monitors. Some more displays, 95 display. These are desktops, 95 desktops. We got 12 laptops like this, and then 12 mice. Mouse.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it. Yeah, so that totaled $230,006.22. And then we had a 4% service fee on top of that, which was $9,000, for a total of $239,206.47. And then we will get the aid of 61 and change for next year on that.
And it's a numbered account, but what account is that being moved from? Because I couldn't tell what account the money is being paid.
So we did move it from the special ed line. So we had some students that left, and we knew we weren't going to use those funds, so we thought it was appropriate to move it into that one.
And then, so that goes to my next one, which would be 6.16. The disposal sheet is quite large on that equipment. It's all being recycled. Is there any way to donate some of that?
Yeah, so what the process is first, we try to sell it. If there's any way to do it safely, we would try to get some money back for it. If we're unable to do that, then we would try to donate it. And then the next step would be recycle, and then finally, if we couldn't recycle it, we would throw it out.
So when we have disposal of assets, the first thing that happens is it goes to our auction.
But most of this stuff is obsolete.
And then 6.24, could you explain the motion to create an inventory technician position?
So the inventory technician is I think I mentioned this in a previous meeting. We are looking to get someone that helps check in. We've had some troubles in the past where people were receiving things and it's being checked in and making sure everything is accounted for, especially over the summer when we have large amount of things coming in.
You mean school supplies?
School supplies and everything, Chromebooks, everything. So this person, that would be their chief responsibility. They also have some inventory duties with all of the things we have in the district. They will also be helping us out with filing and stuff in the district office, and other small things in the district office. But that's their main duties.
Okay.
Answered my questions, thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, on the motion to approve the business considerations, all in favor?
We have to leave out
We leave out.
6.
Oh, I'm sorry, with the exception of
14?
6.14.
Correct.
On the motion to approve the business considerations, 6.1 through 6.24, with the exception of 6.14, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Now can I have a motion to approve 6.14? Mr. Engel, second by Mr. Bedinati. Okay, this will be a roll call vote.
Okay, here we go. Mr. Beninati?
Aye.
Mr. Deo?
Aye.
Mr. Engel?
Aye.
Mrs. Hill Burns?
Aye.
Mr. Coyne?
Aye.
Mrs. Cowling?
Aye.
Mrs. Molino,
Aye.
Mr. Reveley?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Okay, personnel considerations. Can I have a motion to approve one or all of the personnel considerations?
Make a motion for all. 7-1 through
35.
7-35.
All right, thank you, Mr. Engel. Second? Ms. Molino? Any discussion?
Amen.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, does anybody have any informational items to share?
Graduation was nice.
Yeah, thanks to those who attended.
They do a nice job down there at the convention center.
Yeah, that was really nice.
You went well.
It's a different view from the stage, isn't it?
The lights are so bright,
It is.
very bright, but it went well.
Okay, moving on to special reports. I have no reports tonight, other than I'd just like to thank Teddy and Kristen for the time commitment in serving as president and vice president, particularly Teddy. I understand that it's been many years you've served as president of the board, and that's a huge time commitment. So we all appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Bailey?
So graduation, I've been to graduation 13 years. Not as many as some, but it's quite a few. And I was quite surprised. That is the highest attendance that we've had in those 13 years. And I can't explain why. The class wasn't larger than some of the classes that were graduating 10 plus years ago. But we were full all the way up to the top tiers. And always such an amazing day to see the culmination of all these years of hard work. And nice to see some of the staff both on the floor and in the audience during graduation too. And they stopped and they gave high fives and hugs to kids as they were processing out. So thanks to the board members who were able to go. It was last Friday of the last day of school, and not everybody could go, but we had really good attendance. And I think it looks great when we're on stage, and really this is the whole purpose why we're here. So thank you for participating in that. As you saw, the personnel items, we have been hot and heavy in our hiring processes. And where we've had some successes, we found some people to fill positions that are very difficult to fill positions. We hired 2 Spanish teachers, which is tantamount to a miracle. We have some difficult positions still outstanding with late resignations, technology, and physics. But we are out there in the field looking for the right people for the work. And I'm pleased to say we have many more filled positions than we do openings right now. I think that because, there's still movement that'll happen throughout the summer, we will continue to have to fill positions, which hence why we have 2 meetings in August as well, because we want to bring people to action, board action, so that they know that their jobs are secured. Last year around this time, in the first meeting, we held a Board of Education workshop. And basically, what it was is it gave an opportunity for one of our council, members of our attorney council, to present on roles of board members in general, communication with the public, purpose and process for executive session, hearings and petitions, district organizational chart, and things like that. Ryan wasn't able to be here tonight, but I wanted to ask the board whether we believe that that was something that was worthwhile. It was short, it was 45 minutes before a board meeting. And it's possible for people to ask questions that, we had the board retreat pretty recently, which was pretty focused in scope. But I think that unquestionably, there's like 8 hours of questions that any of us could ask. So is it the board's will to ask? And Ryan will not be able to do it. It'll have to be someone else. Ryan's our lead counsel. He's the one who usually works with us from our attorney group, but he would be able to send someone else from his office. So do we feel as though it's worthwhile spending 45 minutes to have our new and our existing board members review some of these things?
I do, personally.
It sounds very beneficial to me as a new board member, so. I think
Yes,
it would
but
be
I'd
helpful.
rather wait for Ryan. He's good. He's
Yeah,
really good.
I agree with that.
If we could put it off a meeting to get him, because we've had some of the other ones that just don't explain things as well.
Yeah.
We could do
I
that.
agree. I think they'd be better off with Ryan.
Okay. We have a relationship with it. That makes sense.
Right.
That, so we'll plan on one of the meetings in September to go through that.
Okay.
I'll touch base with him and see his availability. The other thing that we had spoken about in the spring of this past year is our building calendar. And in reflection on the fall, we've been holding our Board of Education Recognition Awards. We held them separately during COVID because we had social distancing. And we brought them back to board meetings last fall. And what they looked like is we opened the meeting, and then the meeting here, we went down to the auditorium, we had brief celebrations with each building separately, and then came back and continued our meeting. One of the things that we had discussed about, the board discussed, was moving those recognition award ceremonies out of. And there was a time when the kids were seated here with their families and came up and got awards, and it was way too full. So would the board be interested in having, and I don't think we can combine them all because each ceremony was 20 to 25 minutes. If we combined the buildings, we would end up with a 2-hour extravaganza. But would the board like to break those meetings out and have them on separate nights rather than on board meeting nights? We could also hold them before board meetings rather than in the middle. We had it like 6:30, so we did like rush a little bit of board meeting in, then we broke and went down there. What would you be most interested in doing?
I'd vote same night.
I vote same night, definitely.
Same night?
Yeah.
I liked being able to go to them personally. It's kind of a nice introduction to the different schools and stuff.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. You know,
We do it at
Before
6:30
meeting?
before would be best, and
Yeah.
it was disruptive to try
I
and
agree.
before the meeting.
Yeah, I
So
would
do something quick
before.
here and then run down and come back.
try for like a 5:30. Okay.
Perfect.
Maybe it
Would
would
it be
be,
too much to combine the 2 elementary schools?
We would end up with a 50-minute ceremony. And half of the ceremony, people wouldn't care. I mean, it wouldn't be involved
Yeah.
in invested.
Yeah.
I didn't say they wouldn't care.
I know what you
Just they wouldn't have familiarity.
would it make sense to have us not all on the stage? I feel like
Yeah.
the kids are terribly intimidated by all of us sitting up there, and
That's why those,
very awkward.
that's why they were only 20 to 25 minutes long, because they were on the stage. When we have them come from the seats, we can though, Bray.
I don't mean, like,
We line
I
them
mean, I
up.
don't mind doing the stage, but maybe have us sit in the front row or something instead of,
Yeah.
have to walk past all of us, because some of those kids look scared to death coming
Yeah.
across.
You are pretty
Well, I think
scary.
that makes sense too, giving more of the
That's
focus
true.
to the kids.
Yeah, have all the kids on stage. Let them be up there and be
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
let them mess around. It'd be
What'd you say,
fun.
Pete?
And put the kids on the stage. Let them jump around for a while.
Have them sit and wait and then come up and get their award.
Something like that. Put them on the stage. Let them sit up there.
We did.
Something like that. Oh, sometimes there's too many.
When we
though.
did it during COVID, the students were on stage, and then they just came up and
Right.
did that. So your recommendation, Bray, is that they, say it again.
Just so we're not the center of the attention. Let us sit down in the front row of the audience, let the kids be up there by themselves or walking across by themselves or whatever. Just
So you want to give out the certificates, I got it.
It's a board president.
Elementary kids do not want to walk up and see this.
I'll talk to the principals about what would work best. We were definitely seeking for efficiency. We wanted it to be enjoyable for families, but no one likes watching a ceremony of walking. No, it's about celebrating the kids. So we'll talk about how we can arrange that a little differently. But you're right, the board consistently is like front row, 3 feet from the front. We'll talk about that. Jesse's going to talk about some construction updates, and Jean's going to talk about the summer programming that's going on right now. At our August meetings, we have an August 2nd and August 23rd meeting. I wanted to have some reports for the board, including Regents exam results. The results will only be local results. They're not going to be comparative because we don't have the data from other schools yet, but it is informative to know how we ended this year. Also, we want to present our building level targets and action plans for next year, so you have a sense of what we'll be working on before we get into the school year. Also, as the board is considering their own goals, I think that'll be very relevant. And a report on our athletic program, a report on involvement and some of the highlights from the 22-23 season, and our focus and our goals for the 23-24 season.
All of that will take place during the
Over
August-
those 2 meetings.
Over those 2 meetings.
Yeah. Is there anything else that is relevant for us in the summertime as we prepare for the fall?
Maybe this isn't the right time, but just an update on how we stand for uniforms for the fall?
I couldn't hear you, Jenny.
An update on where we stand for uniforms for the fall for all the fall sports?
Yeah.
Making
Jesse may
sure
be
that
able
we
to
have
speak to that
sizes
tonight.
and
I'll
stuff.
do it in mine.
Perfect.
Got it.
Great.
Yeah, we don't want to wait on that because August is too late. Anything else you can think of?
When are we doing the mascot discussion?
Good question.
September?
So you'll be the first to hear officially. So we have 3 names that will be going out to the public again in the fall. They are Raptors, Ravens, and the Swarm. We did a 3rd survey to get down from the 10 that received a mixed number of 3rd place votes. And we'll be putting out some PR probably next week about this is our plan for the fall. We've actually, Michael, our communications person, has been creating a landing page. So anyone who has a rebranding question can go and see all of our archival things that we've been doing over the past year. And what will happen is by late September, early October, we'll have one final vote where people get to select one of the 3. And then we'll reveal that to the community, and then we'll have an art contest so that students can participate and ideally build whatever the icon will be for the mascot. And what we would do is we'd likely partner with any number of professional print shop organizations to make it look professionol. It wouldn't be a student's drawing, but it would be a professional rendering of whatever they come up with. So there'll be a 5th survey around the artwork for whatever our new name is, the logo for our new name.
So
And
will
that'll be on that rebranding website as well.
will the students be voting, will the students be voting again, have a final vote in the mascot as well?
We
Because,
discussed it as a rebranding committee, and they decided that they wanted to still allow the community to participate in that, not just.
no, I don't mean just the community. The students will be able to participate in that final vote as well.
Along with the community, yeah.
Okay.
As far as timeline goes, the uniforms that we're purchasing now are neutral RCS, green and gold uniforms. There has been no discussion about changing our colors. That's not something that the committee was interested in doing, because anything that we choose can be made green and gold. That by the end of next year, we will retire the Indians. So there'll be, officially, there'll be some. What I mean is the shirts and the existing uniforms, by the end of next year, there will be no more. And by that time, we will have completely fleshed out the plan of what will be replaced when, because we talked about banners, we talked about bottom of pool, the turf field, those things all have to be considered through the summer of 2025. So we'll be able to map that out more carefully, but we have ample time to do it. We'll have all of our decision and our logo decided on by December, January of 23, 24. And then by the end of that school year, we, as part of the board resolution, it actually says that no officer, that means any employee of the district, will continue to represent the Indians. People who come to games, whatever they want, members of the public can do whatever they want, but we as a school district will no longer be representing ourselves as the Indians at the end of next year.
Oh, boy.
That is it. Any other questions? Sorry.
Okay. Assistant Superintendent Winkler, welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
This is Jean.
I got to meet some of you. Well, first I want to just say thank you to everyone that I have met so far. Incredibly warm welcome. Everyone has been accommodating, answering questions, offering to help. It's been incredible. And particularly the folks who have carved out time to meet with me already to kind of get a lay of the land and find out what's important to them and the school community. So that has been a really wonderful start. Some more businessy items. Our UPK program right now, Peter B is full at 36 students with 2 on a waiting list. Becker has 31 fully registered students and 1 in the process. And at this time, no students have chosen Circle of Friends as an option. So.
Did you say no students out?
No.
Okay.
None. So we do have 2 summer opportunities for learning for students. The Discovery Camp at Peter B. right now has roughly 245 students participating, which is almost double what they had last year. You know, we've got 90 students in grades 1 and 2, 93 in grades 3 and 4, 44 in grades 5 and 6, and then 17 going into 7th and 8th grade. And it's a range of learning activities, so there's an opportunity for some explicit win time, instructional time around academics, but also some really strong project-based learning experiences and inquiries for students that range anywhere from culinary experiences to gaming to environmental concerns and exploring different ways to recycle, reuse, and redesign. We've got some physics happening. We've got kids exploring world cultures. So there's some really exciting learning experiences for kids to kind of have some voice and some choice and really explore things in depth. So
Kids excited to come to school in the summertime.
yes.
And they are.
And Dr. Bailey and I were there when they were coming off the buses. I was with the parent drop-off and he was with the buses. And it is amazing how organized that is after only running for 1 year and doubling their numbers. So really a testament to the folks who are behind the scenes on that. And then the other program that's happening at the high school is the Apex Summer Learning. So we have 45 students participating in that in a range of courses for English, social studies, math, and science. And I said to Dr. Bailey, the winner being social studies. So we've got some students who are accruing credit for Global 1, Global 2, and U.S. History. English 9, 10, and 11, algebra, geometry, and intermediate geometry for math. And in science, we've got earth science, living environment, or bio, and forensics. So those students are here from 10 to 12:30, and they go to 2 sessions, up to 2 sessions.
The credit accrual or credit recovery?
Credit recovery.
What did he say? I'm sorry.
Didn't come across, Brian.
What's that?
That didn't come across.
I just asked if it was credit accrual or credit recovery.
Credit recovery.
All recovery.
Okay.
And
Thank you, sorry.
it's an amalgam. There's certified teachers teaching components of the work, and it's bolstered by this online Apex program. But they're all students who have taken the full year.
And that's all I have for you
All right, thank you.
this time.
Jesse?
I'm going to give a few updates about some of the things that I oversee. Transportation update. So summer programs, we have 6 buses going to Camp Discovery. And then we have 11 buses for extended day school year. We have started the Stop Finder parent app. And eventually this is going to stop those annoying texts that everybody gets that, you know, the unicorn bus is late by 15 minutes. So this will narrow it to only the parents their students are on the unicorn bus. So we plan to introduce that to the entire district in mid-August. A uniform update, the girls modified soccer, the shorts and uniform have come in. The shorts for the boys soccer modified through varsity. The shorts have come in, and the tops are getting embroidered or worked on, and we should have those by the end of the week. The remaining uniforms have been ordered. We had to wait till July 1 for this school year's budget. So those should be coming in hopefully by the end of the summer.
So what other sports teams in the fall?
I believe we have,
Track or cross
I
country?
think it's softball, or the girls' softball, JV varsity modified, baseball, JV, modified JV and varsity. Let me see. Girls modified basketball and wrestling.
So will all of the fall sports be fully outfitted by the start of the fall season?
Yes, absolutely.
With
Yep.
uniforms that match the sport they're playing?
Yes.
And are in good repair?
Yes.
Okay. That's great, wonderful.
Yep.
That new, that, just as a sidebar, that new position that was created,
The
inventory,
inventory?
will also be assisting with our uniform inventory
Yeah.
control.
Okay,
Yeah, that, and equipment too, also with
Yeah.
athletics, so.
okay.
So a cafeteria update. Summer school is feeding right about, we've only had 2 days, but it's, they're feeding around 150 kids a day. And we did really get some really good news that 3 of our buildings, both of our elementary schools and our middle school have been approved for CEP, which basically means there'll be free lunch and breakfast for just the students in the elementary school and the middle school.
For the summer or for next
The
school year?
whole year.
For all students
Every student.
in both elementaries and the middle school?
Yes,
Why
not,
not?
unfortunately,
Why not
not the
high
high
school?
school.
Why not the high school? What's
So
the
there's
difference
different
there?
requirements. You have to hit the 40% mark through the, like SNAP. It's like an automatic thing. If you have 40% of your kids fall under this category in each building, you automatically get it. And we did for those 3 buildings, but unfortunately, the high school did not.
Probably
It's
because they
interesting
didn't sign
considering-
up for it.
Right.
What's that?
Because they have to sign up for it, high school.
No,
kids
it has
don't.
nothing to do with sign up. This is an automatic thing. This CEP program has nothing to do with
Really?
free lunch. Yep.
Yeah.
I asked Doug the exact same question.
I think
This
we,
is-
yeah, I mean, I think we need to move forward and look at the cost impact of what it would be just to do it for all 4 buildings.
Yeah,
I
especially if
mean,
we're doing
just
it
to
for free.
simplify things.
And Jesse, is
for
this something just for
people that
next
have-
year, or is this
This is actually 4 years.
a 4-year? I
the
agree
next
with
4
Teddy
years?
I mean,
4
it's-
years. It locks you in for 4
You
years.
got kids, I mean, you
I-
have families with kids in the high school, some of the middle
Yeah.
school,
Yeah,
so
we can
it's gonna be
absolutely, I was actually
confusing.
thinking.
And if we could
that's
be this
probably not
close
bad,
to
yeah.
making that happen, I think that's amazing.
And I think
If
it's
it's
gonna
4
get
years.
confusing as kids move from the middle school to the high school. The elementary, the middle shouldn't be a problem, because if it's both free, but you're kind of setting some kids up for maybe
It's gotta be
some
a huge
disappointment or.
expense.
Oh, yeah, it's really going to help us out.
But I mean, for us to even think about taking on the high school, I think it's gotta be a huge expense, just knowing from what my boys.
We can
eat.
definitely figure that out. I can definitely
Well, I
run
think
some
there'd have to be
numbers.
some kind of parameters, right?
Yeah, but everybody gets the same thing. It's not a free-for-all.
No, so you get one,
gotta be for
one,
everybody.
lunch.
Oh, I understand
that's it.
that. No, I
You
get
go
it.
for a second, you have to pay for it, and that's like that in every
No, it's
building.
worth
Right, or like at the middle school where they can pick snacks,
Right,
that's an
snacks do not
option.
count. This is just your, your lunch with,
Okay.
your vegetables.
But we also would still get reimbursed for
You'll get
some
the
of those
norm-
high school costs, and then some families are still going to qualify that we would get reimbursed
Right,
for
they
as
would
well,
get
so it's
free,
not
yep,
like 100%
absolutely.
cost coming back to us.
Yeah, let
It
me
may-
let me work with Doug and put some numbers together. I
definitely.
think that's a great idea. If that's, if that's the will of the board, I can definitely,
It's great news.
look into that for you guys.
So how does
think
this
that's a
work?
great
So this,
suggestion.
this carries for 4 years. Does it adjust?
Oh, yeah,
And-
absolutely.
So
Yeah,
as
we can,
students move from the middle school to the high school
Yeah.
next, okay.
and also, their threshold, there's discussion that the threshold for it, that 40% is gonna drop.
down?
So,
Okay.
once if that happens, we'll reapply and we'll be, there's talk that it's gonna drop down to 25%. So,
Would we meet it if it did drop to that?
oh yeah, we're off by like 15 kids. We're extremely close, and we've worked very closely to try to, get every angle and see if we could get the high school.
And where do they
coverage
get
as
this
we're able to
information
do it.
from, did you say?
What's that?
Where do they, what is SNAP? Where do they?
Oh,
where do
so
they
SNAP
pull-
is like if your household doesn't have a lot of money, you can get food. It's like food
Right.
stamps.
Public assistance.
Yeah.
benefit.
Supplemental
assistance,
nutrition.
yep.
So the qualifications for this program is based on the number of students in each specific school that
Yeah.
fall under SNAP benefits?
It's not just SNAP, there's a few different programs. SNAP is just the one I remember.
Okay.
But it's those cost-saving areas.
But it's possible that next year or the year
Right.
after, all the schools could be covered based upon the population.
Yeah,
of each
we would
building.
relook at it, absolutely.
Okay.
Could it ever adversely go the other way, where all of a sudden,
That's the thing we'd have to look at. I mean, if we, for some reason, in that 4-year period, maybe the shift would, okay, we get the high school, but then we lost the, I don't know, middle school. You know what I mean? That's the
so
stuff
are
that we would
these
have to adjust.
families that are looking for help outside of, in the real world?
Yeah.
They go and fill out paperwork for a specific program, their name is on a list, they're in our district.
Yeah,
Okay.
we
So
get
we
that
need
list.
to, right, but we need to motivate and remind people to fill out those forms.
This, again, you're going back to that list. This program that we're in now does not have that. You don't need that requirement. So what happens is this family fills out for assistance for their home outside of the school,
Yeah,
and then we get this list.
No,
We
I
get
understand,
this-
I get
yeah.
that, but we should remind people to ask for that
Absolutely.
assistance, rather than say,
Absolutely.
hey, fill out this form, go ask for
Absolutely.
all the help, because it's only gonna help.
Right,
Absolutely.
district,
increase
'cause I didn't know
communication
this
on
thing.
promoting
Yeah, I
those
mean, you
programs
still-
and
you
letting
s-
people know what's available to
And you
them.
still want to get those people in the high school that qualify for it. If they do qualify it, we might not get it for everybody, but those families can still get it if they fill out.
So they can still fill out the free and reduced lunch
Absolutely,
application.
absolutely, and they
Which
should.
I would say is generally, definitely pushed. I
We
mean,
should,
I've
yes.
seen
So, and how
many-
this can be adjusted in that 4-year period? So does that mean, so if we say that we have it for 4 years, does that mean that we have it for the 2 elementary schools and the middle school, kind of regardless of what happens, it stays for those 4 years? But then after the 4 years, if like our demographics look different, we might not be able to continue it for them, but obviously then if the high school adds. And can the high school then, say next year, when the middle school moves in, maybe the 8th graders has a higher population of people who are on that assistance. Does that mean that maybe next year we would be able to get it for the high school, or do we have to wait until the end of that 4-year period to make
My
that
understanding
change?
is we could reapply. We could follow up with our cafeteria director, Mr. Porter, but my understanding is we could reapply, but the risk is that we might lose a different one.
So if we reapply, we
and
have to
then let's
reevaluate the entire
That's my
district,
understanding.
not just the one that's missing the benefits.
So that would, we have to be very cautious of where we are with our numbers and that kind of thing.
Is it just breakfast or just
Nope,
lunch?
breakfast and lunch. Yep.
That's huge.
Yeah, so that's gonna be great for our families. so.
Yeah.
Okay. So a little bit into the capital project. Just a real quick overview, there's a lot of work going on. In the elementary schools, all the demolition has been worked. All those classrooms have been emptied out. Asbestos abatement is gonna start in A.W. Becker tonight and be on the next 5 days. And then abatement at Peter B. is gonna start the 19th, and that's gonna take 5 days to complete. And this is happening on the second shift, so no students or staff will be in the building. But I personally went into these buildings today and saw it is all blocked off. No one can get in and out of those areas now, unless you're a construction worker. So that should be done relatively soon. We got some updates on our youth events they are about 14 to 16 week lead time on those. So we will work on getting those replaced during the school year, maybe after hours or over breaks.
I'm sorry, what?
Youth events, the youth
Okay.
events.
What's a univent?
So youth events are they're the mechanism in the classrooms that bring in fresh air from the outside.
Okay.
So we are updating those in those classrooms that we're also doing abatement.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So if you drove from the south, you'll see all the dugout, everything is dug out outside the middle school there. They are doing the prepping for our conduit, for our upgraded service in the middle school. So that started on the 11th and will go through the 14th. Let's see, high school, the abatement of the hallway will start on July 26th, and that will take about 7 days. The pool dehumidifier has about a 20-week lead time on it, so it's going to take a little while, but We are coordinating the replacement so it doesn't affect any of the JV or varsity swimming. The concession stand has been abated. That was on 7/10. And they will do the disconnection and the demolition on the 17th. The press box redesign was submitted to SED, and the contractor right now is working on the pricing. We did speak to our architect this afternoon in our Building and Grounds Committee meeting, and we're hoping that gets back relatively quickly. Let's see. So update on outside of the capital project, but update on the playgrounds. As you can see, if you parked over here, the middle school one is started up. Should be finished by the end of the week.
Can I ask a question on that?
Sure.
The decision to put it in the location that it's at, why? Like, why didn't it go in the back by like the wall or something? Like, it's right in the middle of the tennis courts and the wall of the building.
Probably because, I don't know for
And it
sure,
looks-
because the rest
That's
of
pretty bad.
recess occurs in front of the school. So they're probably trying to be able to monitor it from one location.
Okay.
There isn't, when people
Kind of a
go
nice
to the
one.
tennis court, they have to follow the sidewalk, down the sidewalk and then back to tennis courts, but I haven't seen it closely yet. I just saw it when I parked my car and looked diagonally across, so I'll take a closer look.
We have that whole back area, just,
Yeah. And they'll be redoing that field as part of the $15 million project.
The A.W. Becker Playground is in production, and we're still on track to get it installed this summer. And then the contractor for the Peter B. one will be on site this week to review the equipment at the playground, that the playground committee has decided on. So they'll be here this week to work with Bill to see if it works.
I do have one question about the Becker Playground. I was there the other day and they have a cone by one of the other slides. Is that broken, or do we know if it's just there incidentally?
I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
There's a slide and there's a cone there, and I asked my son, and he said they hadn't been allowed to use it for several weeks before the end of school. Keep in mind, he's in third grade, so his time frame is probably not the most accurate version of the truth, but I didn't know if it was also broken. It looked fine, but
I think that slide has been repaired quite a few times, if memory serves, and with plastic weld. So I don't know what its status is, but I know it has been out and in service repeatedly.
I guess I wonder a little if the playgrounds are open to the community, if those things should be more clearly delineated to the people who are coming in who may not be from the district or that have be their home school. Just seems like a potential safety concern if we know it's broken and we're leaving it there without any kind of signage or information, or maybe.
When
And the other slide was broken for a whole year.
we removed one of them.
Yes, but it was there for a year before it was removed, so.
I may be misremembering, Jenny, because I think we may have removed the one that continuously broke.
I believe
and
so.
And barred it off so that.
Yeah, it was once it was fixed, it was very clear there was no issue with safety, but again, my concern stems from this is a playground used by 5-year-olds and up, and their impulse control is not always great, or their ability to follow all the directions they're given is not always 100%, and it just seems like a safety concern that could potentially be prevented. And maybe the cone was there for no other additional reason. He's my only source of information on that, so, his information may not be accurate.
I would encourage, anytime, there's members of our public, they're everywhere, like they're using the playground, they're using a high school facility, they're behind the middle school. Anytime anyone encounters something that doesn't look right or looks like it's broken, they can use the who to contact when in our calendar or on our website to contact facilities and say, because there's a clerical person there all the time, they can take messages, or barring that, call the building, because the buildings are open 12 months a year and there's someone there and they can help follow through with it too, because you're right, that will be used throughout the summer by families from that area.
But it also kind of stems to is there a work order request that the principal fills out, or is there someone that monitors the grounds on a more routine basis? Like a custodian at the end of the week or the end of the day, depending on how often the things have been used. playground in the school year, at least with weather, was probably daily. Not exactly related, sorry, but.
It's okay. That's all for me.
Do you want to talk about, Jesse, hold on, since you were talking about the capital, the $2.3 million project, the other half of that, which was the add-ons, which was the dugouts and the baseball field, there's a hiccup, we learned at Building and Grounds today. So apparently, in the estimate that we approved from SED with the dugouts, included, that estimate included the batting cages, which were not approved. So the issue is, they cannot move forward. There was a turf component to that batting cage. So in order for them to go through with this without rebidding it, they would have to put turf down in an area at the baseball field and I believe at the high school of where a batting cage would go and just put it on the ground in order to move forward.
But that's site work and everything.
That's site work.
That's
and
putting like a curb, everything but the actual net.
that, so I asked, well,
To get the
okay,
state contract.
to get that contract on that, or they can rebid it without that in there, because it's not just the turf, it's the curb and all that. And he said it would only add a couple weeks, I think today, 2 or 3 weeks, and then you could move forward with that. So that's what we learned today. So we have to like give them a decision on, do we want them to rebid it?
And one of the options for the batting cage is that we could go out and purchase one.
Well, Bill's looking in to see if there are all of our options with that turf. Is it, what exactly do we need to fit that state contract? He came up with a couple different ways. We're trying to get exactly what we need to fit that. And then once we find that, then we can make a decision on which way we want to go.
Okay, because from today, I didn't get that from him. I got from him exactly what Pete got was, we'd have to put in, some type of turf would go down with the whole site work and everything.
That's the question, is what type of turf, is what, like, how much turf, how much, can we do a real small area?
I thought it had to be the size of the batting.
He said the size of the batting
Did
cage
say that,
today is
yeah.
what he said. But the question is, if we're not doing the batting cages, why not just rebid it? If it's gonna take 2 or 3 weeks, it's not really gonna hold up, they're not gonna start any of that work on it.
Could be more money.
It'd be more money to
be more
rebid
money?
it
To
and
do the
not
whole-
do the turf? Like in.
Well, then you don't
total,
get
or-
that stake, if you pull that one component out, we can't use them, that has to be another.
They could bid on it, right? But I mean,
not
they
out.
can go back and say it's, more money.
Well, Bill did say we could go out and we could bid somebody just to put up the cage. We could go buy a cage, we could put up a cage on this turf area that has to be put down.
Because that work would all be done. But this is part of the state, the
said-
bid?
Yeah,
So
I
it's all
remember when
included.
we looked at that one there, I didn't remember a turf component being in there, but Bill said there was. So in order to move forward, some type of turf component has to go down somewhere.
So the
So-
batting cages are included in the price that we already approved.
Yes. So
Okay.
that's the thing,
Well,
we'd be
the
pulling that out.
The cages
The
aren't, right?
cages included
are,
or
right.
just the foundation
Well,
or the?
in that bid, that's why I asked him to send me the bid. The bid in there had I believe
Yeah, so that whole package, all that was one package, right? We pulled out the batting cage, which had the turf component in it, which we found out, it says that we have to have the turf component. That's the issue
Even
we're
if we're
having
not
right
putting the
there.
batting cages in?
Correct.
It's part of the bid, or part of the
It's a state
contract of how the
contract
state
that
must
has
do it?
Something to
But
do.
like, we get this thing from the state, and this is everything that we have to do in order to get this person to do the job. We can't pull out this turf part.
Well, at
What
least,
happens if we just put the turf there
This is
and
what
then
we're talking
decide?
about.
Then
That's
we
what we're
can-
trying to figure out.
After-
we're
right.
trying to
and then
figure
we
out.
can maybe just install the whole cage, or well, the net ourselves, is what Bill's.
That was an option. Bill
Like
did
just
say
put
that
some
was an
poles
option.
and put the net.
Yeah, yeah.
That was-
Because everything else would already
Also,
be
another
done.
way to look at it is you would have a turfed area the size of a batting cage. There's other uses for right now. I mean, I know we want to put a cage in, but baseball, you can use a turfed area like that.
What else would be entailed in a batting cage? I'm sorry, I don't know much about the sports.
What else could we use it for?
No, like, besides the turf field, what else do we need to install for it to be a batting cage?
Poles and a
Holes
net.
in the net.
Okay,
That's it.
Okay.
That's
It's
what we
usually,
did.
depending on how big, could be 4 poles, could be 6 poles, and then
Okay.
it's just a net with some, to be honest, it looks like a winch.
But
It just tightens them up and,
Okay.
There's a clip.
The
So it's
concern
not
on-
necessarily very labor intensive specifically.
No, not real.
The turf part is, so the concern was, the batting cage with the turf was $57,000. So how much is that turf component and how much is the net? Because if that's not what was approved, if the turf component is extremely expensive, then we have to, I guess, decide from there.
So how are we moving forward since we've already kind of approved parts of it? Are we
We're not-
waiting till,
We're waiting for Bill to get more information.
can we wait till August to make these decisions when we have information?
I think we'll have it sooner than that. I
Okay,
think any day we'll get a
Right.
little bit more info on it.
but do we need to approve it at a meeting or
Um,
it's already
Well,
kind
we've
of
already been, we already
approved?
approved it.
yeah.
Right,
Yeah, but we didn't approve the batting, see, it's a double-edged sword. We didn't approve the batting cages, but we approved all the other work. So now it's sort of like, it's only another like week or two. We have another building and grounds meeting in what, 2 weeks? And we should know by then and then figure out.
So the big thing is here, can we, if we do this turf, we'll have the same numbers for the fence and the batting, I mean, for the dugouts. If we don't have that contract, that state contract, then
Could
we're
get
gonna have to go
worse.
out to bid.
Right, okay.
And then we'll have different
more.
numbers.
Right.
Maybe lower, I mean, we could get lower, so,
okay.
It's also a
That's the
spring
concern, right.
sport and there was time.
yes.
There was no
yes,
Right,
it's
that-
not a- it's
that
not
is
a
definitely
fall
helpful.
sport, So,
That was
Right,
something.
right. There was
Yeah.
there's
Everything else
plenty
is
of time.
fencing and stuff, yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if it impacted the rest of the work that's already occurring or,
No.
okay.
So it just impacts the dugout?
No, it does,
Or-
the
or all the
dugouts,
baseball field
the
work
fence, all
The
this,
fence
all
too.
the work.
Impacts
all the-
everything.
Was put it on it,
Affects
right.
everything, but I specifically asked, is this like a time issue? He said, no, we have plenty of time. So,
They're coming from the engineers.
right.
They
they
were
were on
saying
the-
that.
Yeah, they were
not
on the.
Okay.
call today.
Somebody else.
What
who
about,
didn't know.
yeah,
Right.
what about the contractor? Doesn't,
John didn't seem to think that it was an issue at all. He was on the call, the engineer was on the call.
Right, and it sounded like the turf component was from this other company who, it's such a small deal, it doesn't matter.
no, what I'm saying is if this thing has to get rebid.
Oh, right.
And then,
Oh, yeah,
so how
that would-
much
that
it
would stop
delays,
everything.
and then you have to approve it, and then can you get this installed, before fall or before winter? So that way they'd be able to use it in the spring.
I believe we would even have to go back to state ed, wouldn't we?
no.
Yep,
No?
no.
Not
he
not
said
for any of that.
It would only be a couple of weeks to find out a different bid if it didn't go
Right,
that way.
it's just
so-
basically, we wouldn't be able to use those prices, we'd have to get different prices.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So we just have to follow our own purchasing policies, so.
So we should know, in, like, by the next building grounds committee meeting, 2 weeks.
Which way we're gonna go, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Any new business anybody has?
I don't know if it's new business. I have a question about the playground in the middle school. What ages are going to be able to use that? Because not all the students get recess. As I recall from my daughter, only sixth graders get recess and they get it for 20 minutes. And seventh and eighth grade, that second half of their lunch is a study hall where they sit in a room and look at their phone or do homework or talk to their friends. So I love that it's there. I just hope it can be utilized by other students as well. So do we have any information on the intended use of it, or who will, or what timeframes, or if those seventh and eighth graders can have not a structured study hall for the second half of lunch? No
I
idea.
don't know of any changes from this year to next, or last year to this year.
So it's only going to be utilized by sixth graders for 20 minutes a day? Just,
I don't
that-
know that. I can find out for you.
okay. It just seems like it would be nice for the seventh and eighth graders to potentially use it as well, since they'll be watching all the sixth graders on it and,
It's been a tough change because we've asked for that. It's probably 3 years now. Like
that they've had
like
a
the kids
structured
going
study
into
hall?
10th grade didn't have recess in 8th grade. So, I mean, this policy, it's not, they haven't had recess. We asked those questions
Is there a
couple of
reason that
years
they
ago.
don't have it? Like, is
They
there
go
a
to structured
store,
study hall.
but is there a reason they have to have a structured study hall?
No, it was just an attempt to improve academic outcomes.
I would argue that allowing them some freedom outside could also improve academic
The arguments on both sides.
performance as well, giving them some time to burn off steam and socialize in a
Very
different
unusual.
setting.
Have
might
you
be
seen
helpful.
any difference from it? Like from when you made that change? Have
Yeah.
you seen a difference in academics in those grades? Because I would argue the same thing. I think that giving them a little bit of time to not be sitting in a classroom or staring at a screen in some way would be more beneficial than 20 minutes in a study hall. So I'm just wondering if there's actually been any benefit to it.
I think it is very unusual for students in 7th and 8th grade to have recess because we build interconnected programs where they have music and art, PE, and technology, where they are rotating through usually a more vibrant schedule than what an elementary student has. You know, granted, 6th grade is very different than 5th grade because we have multiple teachers working in a team, but we can look at that.
I still think it would be worth determining if it be an option for them. And I know that once they come to the high school, it'll be different, but kids get to be kids for so short of a period of time that giving them opportunity to get rid of some physical tenseness or whatever you want to say might be helpful.
I think you would have to look at,
And I don't know if it would work scheduling wise. I'm just saying, I think it would be beneficial to have some more information to,
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if it
Formulate
actually, if
what
it
would
did
be the
make a
right
difference, if
decision.
it did make a difference in either direction, honestly. Because I think that a lot of times study halls, I think especially for kids around that age, it's often not necessarily really focusing them on academics. It's just giving them time to not be listening to a teacher. You know, I think that a lot of kids at that age aren't necessarily going to use that time productively. Whereas getting some energy out might help them to focus, you know, as they go back into the classroom for the rest of the day and to remove a little bit of that structure. But I agree. I think that it would be helpful to see more information as to if it did make a difference in the direction that we were hoping for.
I think to check just too with the middle school, with the principals as well. I mean, there's a component,
Absolutely.
staffing component. You know, do they have the staff? What would it look like? You know, is that possible as well?
yeah. More of a question than like I need it to go that way. I'm just curious what
No, I agree with
formulated
you.
the decision.
Maybe it's not an all or nothing
Yeah,
either,
absolutely.
right? So maybe it's not 5 days a week you're in study hall. Maybe there's 2 days a week you have recess, 3 days a week you have study hall. If that works, right? If there's options for some flexibility there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The state is very conscientious about age-appropriate activities, as I said. So the requirements for students who have classes in 6th grade is different than 7th and 8th. So there's a more vibrant opportunity to be out of the classroom and doing these other things, including PE every other day. That's not a requirement at the elementary level, although we do it in 6th grade, I believe. It's just how it works in the middle school schedule. But we'll look at it strategically and see how those pieces have fit together over the past few years.
Any other new business? Okay, old business.
I have a question. Can we get an update on how the uniforms, I know that they're all ordered and that's wonderful, but we have on here storing of uniforms. Is there a point
I can understand.
storing the uniforms? What's done with the uniforms in the off-season, since that was kind of some of the struggle, was that the uniforms hadn't been kept in a central location, allowing them to be easily found when the season started last
We
year.
have remedied that. They've been returned to a central location.
So the first 2 points on old business, the follow-up on the academic presentations and the, you know, I guess the school climate issues that were raised and the graduation rates, will that be part of the presentations in August that you're planning? Okay.
And it just won't be the graduation rates, it'll be the other testing information?
I can't understand what you mean.
It's not gonna just be the graduation, it's gonna be the other testing information that we discussed.
Regents exams and graduation rate.
Are you talking about testing from the elementary school level or just those two?
I was talking about, I guess, the broader academic outcomes and the follow-up on the presentation for all the buildings.
We won't have 3 through 8 testing results until the fall.
I think they're asking more about, for example, the internal metrics. Like, is that what you're talking about? Like, it wasn't just on the state test scores. The presentation was about, there's also an internal component of measuring at this, how they're really doing, because people don't always test well. And FastBridge wasn't working, I believe we were told. So have we found a replacement for FastBridge yet? you said it wasn't narrowing down to get to the problem. So have we found a new tool to employ for the teachers to be able to use? Because that was a big part of that presentation. And maybe Gina has some suggestions of tools that maybe she's utilized or that could be used. Because they were talking about two things. There was the state tests and there was the internal metrics of measuring. So I don't think we ever really got a report on the internal metrics on how the buildings measure the progress individually of the students. And I think is that what you were asking as well?
Yeah, I think that a student's state test score is only one small snapshot of how that child performs. And I think you're doing the students and the teachers a disservice if you're not sharing some of the other data that showcases where they have been excelling, whether it's through FastBridge or through their reading intervention programs or whatever other programs they're participating in. I think it would be helpful to know, despite the fact that their score may not reflect it on a state test, that they're making progress within themselves, compared to themselves. Like, are they moving through improvements, like in RTI or other things like that?
I would appreciate just a little bit of time for me to.
Oh.
I'd like to
Absolutely.
take a look at
Absolutely.
so there was a presentation.
We had a like a 3-hour presentation. It was April, I think it was. And yeah, there was a lot of questions that were asked.
Okay.
And I know at the time FastBridge was pointing out that it was not working at that time. So I don't know if there's been a replacement yet. I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm saying now that you're here, maybe you're familiar with something else that you like to use or something like that.
And I think Fred did mention that they were researching what program would be best fit for them. And my question at the time was, once they decide what's best for them, will they have the ability to purchase or use that in a way that's effective for them, or have the time to be able to implement that? You mentioned other programs. I mean, I know there's other programs out there that are used to assess these types of things.
I guess for me, what I'd like to know better is, what does it mean by not working? So what pieces are they looking for? And I
Brian would
can
be
do
able to
that.
help you out because
Yeah.
that was, that's perfect.
Okay. With respect to the district and board goal setting and mission and value statements, I'd just like to, I guess, set some firm targets on moving forward with that. Were we as a group in favor of bringing in a consultant, perhaps the same individual who did the workshop for us, to assist us in that process?
I am personally. I think having some guidance surrounding it, since it hasn't been done in so long, would be beneficial to all of us, especially with,
Can't hear you that well.
I'm sorry, I don't know if that's making it better or worse. I'm just saying, I think it would be beneficial since it hasn't been done in a while, and a lot of us are newer, so we may not have the perspective to offer to it.
I mean, like
so-
the same person that was here, possibly again?
Does he do that? I think he does, right?
He said he did, yeah. I mean, we
He's a BOCES guy, right?
Yes,
So, do they charge us for that?
Yes.
yeah,
You're kidding me?
no.
Wow.
It's worth looking into. I mean, the first step might be to contact him and see what type of help he can offer, what the
Right.
price would be,
Right.
what his schedule looks like.
Yep.
I'd be happy to do that. Teddy, I don't know
I'll
if you...
send you the contact info.
Okay. I'll do that, and then hopefully, in the next couple of months, we can get something scheduled and move forward so that in the early fall, we actually have something, right? Something developed.
Mike, we don't have to address it tonight, but establishing our board committees will be helpful as well, because we're going to quickly roll through August into September, and we are actually on a little bit of a roll with policies, so we wanted to keep that going.
I was going to bring that up in the next one here, so we'll move right into it, the board committee reports. We don't have any tonight that I'm aware of, although...
Jesse did most of it from the buildings and grounds tonight.
Yeah. It'd be good to get the board memberships set fairly soon, so if everybody could send me and Ed a list by the end of next week, by next Friday, of the committees that you'd like to participate in.
How about if we have Sue send a list of the committees? And
Great.
we talked about having like a little, this is what the committee does.
Yep.
A little rubric so that people know.
Yeah,
and then they
okay.
can respond back to you.
Once you get that, respond back to Ed and I and give us your top three, prioritize, 1, 2, 3, what your preferences would be. If you'd like to serve on one committee, if you'd like to serve on multiple committees, that's up to you and what your time allows. And we'll make those selections and send that out to everybody so that everybody knows before the next meeting what the committee structure will look like. And then hopefully we can make a push to really schedule committee meetings and stick to a schedule and have reports back to the board at future meetings on the committees. Got logged out here.
While we're on committees too, a code of conduct committee, I know we've talked about it, and
Can you
there's
talk
actually.
up, speak up, sorry.
I'm sorry, these mics. I think I brought it up I asked about it in June. The code of conduct, which we approved tonight for next year, but there's actually documentation that we should, suggestion to form a code of conduct committee. We're supposed to actually be reviewing it, measuring, ascertaining, and it wouldn't be just the board on it. We would have staff, but we're supposed to be, if I remember correctly, judging, are the things in the code of conduct, are they working? We're supposed to be evaluating them in somewhat real time. And then the committee making suggestions for changes, any changes that would be made going forward. So I don't know if that's something that you want to talk more about, or?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the ultimate question is whether we want to form a new committee of the board called the Code of Conduct Committee, which would be a collaboration of board members, building administrators, teachers, perhaps community members, I don't know. The purpose would be throughout the year to assess the code of conduct, look at outcomes, look at areas for improvement, so that by the time next summer rolls around and we're asked to approve the code of conduct, we've had a study done throughout the year so we can identify anything that might need to be changed, improved upon, based upon what's actually occurring in the buildings. I feel like, last year and even this year, the code of conduct was put in front of us and we're asked to approve it, but I don't really have any basis from which to assess how well it's operating in practice. So I think that a committee that focuses on that year-round and provides updates to the board might be helpful in having a more meaningful review of the code of conduct next year.
Is it ever appropriate for the students to serve on those committees?
I think it might be appropriate to have a
Maybe,
representative.
not the elementary school,
Right,
but
yeah.
perhaps the high school. I think it's a good idea. I think it's worth reviewing to ensure that it's accomplishing what it's set up to accomplish.
The district leadership team, Mike, is made up of staff and leaders, parents and students, and that a subcommittee of that standing committee might be a good baseline, a good way for us to approach this, because then you've got systemic information from people who are from all four buildings, the real life, real life experience, along with the data, along with people from the outside community who are already in it. So that'll be helpful. And board members certainly can join the subcommittee. But I think the district leadership team is probably a good place for that to reside. So it's a standing committee, and we have a lot of branches to help us look at things like that. Our first meeting will be in the first weeks of school, and I think it's a great idea for us to monitor that. We're looking at district-wide behavioral issues from a student success perspective, through PBIS, through the multi-tier systems of support, through school-based student study teams. I think it'll fit really nicely under that umbrella. And the invitation would go to the board members as well if they wanted to participate in that review.
Okay. I mean, as long as there's, I guess as long as there's regular reporting to the board from that subcommittee, so that we do have information flowing throughout the year on how it's going, right? The effectiveness of the code of conduct in practice, any issues that are coming up throughout the school year, so that when we evaluate it again, we can do it with some additional context. I don't know It matters to me personally if it's a board committee or if it's the structure you mentioned, Dr. Bailey. If anyone else has any strong preferences, let us know.
I don't see a problem with that, as long as it reports back to the board consistently. Because like when we go through, which we've been going through policies and everything like that, you can look at policies all day, but without the real-time information on what's going on, you don't know what to look at.
Yeah.
So I don't think it really matters to me whether it's board level or on that subcommittee. If that's already seated, that seems like the easiest way to go.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, there's no hearings or petitions. Is there any upcoming activities other than the Board of Education meeting scheduled for August 2nd?
I had one question
Yeah.
before you jump forward. To ask Jesse, we talked about the reserve amounts on where they are, especially after last meeting. You were gonna take a look at what was there, and maybe we could set a time to have a further discussion on what appropriate levels to funding those reserves would be. Because that one accountant sounds like there was a lot of money in there. It was $3.5 million, and I think you said you recommended we don't fund that really anymore. There's enough there. So I don't know if maybe next meeting you could report back to us, or however you want to do it, so we could work through to try to figure out what are acceptable levels we should fund those reserves at.
So what I wanted to do was do it in a finance committee meeting, if possible, and I was waiting until you guys formed the new finance committee so we could get into it a little bit more detail and have active discussions in a smaller group and not take up everybody's time, and then report back to the board of what we kind of were thinking.
Okay.
So I think that might be more of an appropriate spot for that, deeper discussions about each reserve and why we're going with this amount we have. And then we could probably set that in later August.
Okay.
So we have better numbers of where we are at the end of this year,
That's good.
if that works for the board.
Okay, and then finally, yes.
Sorry, I was just going to say, for a public perspective, that all of our fall sports registration information, athletics information has been placed on our website for families to get geared up for the school year.
Okay. And then finally, if there's nothing else, I would ask for a motion to go into executive session to discuss collective negotiations pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law.
Motion?
I would like to add to that another motion for exec as well. I would also add the motion that we go to exec for an update on a continuing appeal that was made to the Board of Education.
Okay? So-
Still motion. Both.
So we have a motion from Mr. Bedinati to go into executive session for collective negotiations discussion and also regarding the appeal.
Correct.
Do we have a second for Mr. Bedinati's motion? Ms. Molino? All in favor?
Aye.
And we'll be taking no action when we return from executive session.
Most of our building leaders are here. Could I ask that you please come up and casually introduce yourselves to the existing and new board members while you're heading out?
Put you on the hot seat.
Casually, reception line.
So we're keeping these computers, right?
Oh my gosh,
walk away.
I never use a
You can take